And we're live.
Hey everybody, welcome. Happy Mother's Day to all the, mothers and stepmothers and all that out there. Y'all have a hard job, because I know my mom did. Yeah, so welcome to the 7th installation of our kitchen, fandango here. We've got Heather Kraus on camera.
Hey.
There she is. And me, Sebastian's at his mom's this weekend, so, and this coming week. So it's just, no one here but us chickens, which is a good intro because we're going to quickly start doing this chicken thing. We had more and more there's like, some of the convenience portions of stuff are not showing up in the stores as much. We had a thing where, we got like, there were rib roasts, but there weren't, like ribeye steaks or what have you. It's just, you're seeing a lot of smaller cuts kind of not being in stores as much as, weird things happen, supply chain, blah, blah, blah. So I thought I would do something that we used to do a lot more before, Costco started selling those awesome roast chickens that they have now. And it is doing a little thing with a chicken so that we can cook it nice and quick. So we'll jump into this real quick, then we'll talk about some other stuff, and I think, and then kind of in that same spirit, we're gonna, I don't know, whatever, show us doing some silly veggie thing, but we do that all the time. So I think we're gonna go and butcher out a different thing, a pork shoulder that we've got. So the first thing that we're gonna do, so that you got your chicken, obviously the breasts are here, and so here's the back. So the point of what we're going to do, we've got the oven up to broil for whatever, some few minutes or whatever, so it can warm up. We're going to kind of cut down the backbone here and kind of splay the thing open a little bit. I'll show you a couple things to pull out. We'll season it and then we'll get it going. And we're going to broil it in the oven at on the lowest rack. So it's still a big whole chicken, so you don't want to broil it, up near the top because it'll not cook evenly. But that's kind of the basics of what we're doing with the chicken. So we're going to sort of sit them down a little bit, to get them stable. What we're going to do, we're going to kind of go along the side. You're not trying to tussle with the thing and cut the thing. But we're going to start with the wing side, kind of the top part here, and like right around here, there are some bones you're going to watch out for. So you'll see kind of what we do. The backbones are thin enough that you can kind of just go through them here. But once you hit, you'll feel like solid, not just these little spindly things. And there you kind of want to go to the side a little bit around, and then kind of go around here, and then we'll just cut the bottom part of this through here. So now we've got this guy. Believe us, we're going to sanitize the heck out of this whole countertop afterwards. But right now, whatever, we got some things we're trying to do here. So this stuff can stay or it can go. These things, the stuff behind here is not going to have too big an issue, kind of cooking and getting done or whatever. Plus, we're going to cook it on the other side too. One thing that you probably want to do, this is this keel, and if you look, you can kind of see where, there's this little joint here. So if you've got this, you can kind of just score this down, and actually really kind of just go along the side of this here.
So hi to the moms. Both my mom and your mom are here. Moms.
Yeah.
Happy Mother's Day. You're both.
Yes.
You might have missed that part, but he started us out with a Happy Mother's Day before he got into his chicken.
Yeah, I didn't want to get too chatty at first because this does take I don't know, it's probably 10 to 15 minutes on each side. Usually it's about 25 minutes kind of in the oven kind of time. So I didn't want to lollygag too long. So yeah, we're just gonna so these things come away from this bone pretty easily. And this sometimes pops out nicely. Sometimes you have to kind of get in there and free it up just a little bit. This is like the worst knife to use for what I'm doing right now, but I was going to keep the other knife a little bit, you know, a little bit clean for our pork. Not that pork is, you know, super more sanitary than chicken is, but, you know, whatever.
So Ryan Haas says, watch your fingers.
Yes. Yeah, I know. Like,
Could you do this with a smaller knife? I mean, not you specifically, but like, would it work with a smaller
of course.
knife?
Yeah. This is like one of the sharper, you know, knives I've got, and such. But yeah, you definitely want to not use a knife that is larger than what you're comfortable with using for this, because this is, you know, this is not something that you ought to like be, you know, having to put a lot of force and whatever else in. It's more about gentle. And in fact, sometimes, well, a lot of times when you're doing any kind of butchery, when you're using any kind of force at all, you want it to be without a knife. You know, like you know, knives are great when you have to just slice something that's easily sliced, or you know, where you're like going through a joint that you can kind of like feel where it is, and you know, and then it's kind of easy to get. So like right here is the joint. We're just gonna do this, and it's done. So, the point of doing any of that anyway was to just make it so that we're exposing the breast stuff a little bit here. This is one of the thicker parts of the chicken, so it'll cook a little easier this way. And again, going on that, you know, don't use the knife for the hard stuff thing. You know, we're gonna like pull off this stuff that's basically just, you know, bones and nothing else, because this will give us a little bump on the cooking. This other one where it's kind of like all this bigger piece, I'm just going to leave it as is, kind of with the back, you know, so like the back will kind of cook, kind of do its own thing here. So we're going to season this guy and then flip him.
So pull your hands back for a second so I can do a little tour of what you've done here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the chicken was like this. You know, we set him up, we cut down, we kind of went along, we went around this bone.
Cut along the back, not the breast.
Yeah, cut along the back, not the breast. And then we basically just pulled the keel bone out, and, you know, and you're kind of caught up to where we're at right now.
Okay.
Really just the goal is any place where there's like thick meat, I'm trying to have it be that there's not a bunch of bone up in front of it, you know, just so how we're cooking it is broiling it. So, you know, it's like the equivalent of grilling, which is, you know, which gets us a pretty quick cook on the chicken. I used to do this like weeknights. You know, you come home, it takes like 5 or 10 minutes to bone it out. I'm less in practice than I used to be when we actually did this all the time.
Maybe the chickens are tougher.
What's that?
Maybe the chickens are tougher than they used to be.
Right. You're right. Yeah, I'm not older. The chickens are, and so right, they're definitely a little more fierce than they used to be.
Heather makes a joke.
So yeah, we're I know we're always slinging like the Cajun stuff, and people probably think that's all we got, you know, to do. But I wanted to, I don't know. We can talk about whatever. We'll talk about this in a sec once this stuff goes on. I'm just gonna right now shut up and get it going. Okay. What we're gonna start with, I think, is the. I got these guys right here. Is we're gonna do like a little tandoori kind of seasoning that we have. This is this. It comes from, if you're in Seattle, the souk in Pike Place Market sells this as well. You know, I'm sure you can probably get it at other places.
And it's basically like paprika, cumin, garlic. Like it's pretty mellow.
Yeah. It's nice if you're broiling, because it kind of, you know, it's this like deep red color and it's cool. And it is, I mean, it's basically just like a tandoori kind of flavor set, you know, without doing the whole like marinate it in yogurt and go whatever, and you know, whatever, be patient and everything else. So yeah, but it's nice for it's nice for just a little like tandoori hit, you know. You can do it in just right on the grill or whatever else. So yeah. Just to make this a little bit easier, we talked about like doing a grilling episode, but then I'm like shouting in the backyard and our neighbors think we're weird anyway. So, you know,
yeah, they're not wrong.
We're sticking to the kitchen for now. Anyway, Yeah, so we've got this. We've got a broiler pan that I cleverly put in the broiler as it was starting to broil, but has now come to like sort of decent temperatures. So just grab this guy.
So we have like pile o chicken.
Yeah, I know it's definitely sort of floopy once you get it, you know, all boned out or whatever, or not. Yeah, not entirely boned out. This is kind of the thing you do, you know, if you're gonna do the turducken or whatever. It's kind of, you know, it's a pretty similar deal that you can do. I think I'm going to start it. I think I'm going to do skin side up because this is kind of most of what the cooking needs to, you know, kind of where most of the cooking needs to be. It's nice if you remember to wing, you know, get the wing tips out too, just because, you know, you're not going to eat them, so there's no reason to roast the things. You can save these for stock or whatever. You know, you've heard all the tales of the boneyard that we keep in the freezer. So, yeah. All right. So with time a ticking, we're gonna.
That's for you, Dick.
All right.
Dick Carroll says, "Show the spice bottle again."
Oh yeah. It's yeah. So you can go back. It's a good one. All right. So this is gonna go. If you were here, you'd see that it's the lowest broiler, you know, rack or whatever, but you know, you're not. So
do you want me to swing around?
We'll call that ship sailed.
All right.
Whatever. We can
pull it. We're gonna pull it out anyway. So.
Yeah,
So hey, there's some people that I haven't seen on before.
Yes. Well, let's do that because yeah, we have a little bit of time and we'll talk a little bit about some other stuff too. Yeah.
So I think we've had David Ball join us before. William Henry Couret IV, or Couret, perhaps you pronounce it.
Yeah.
And then Crystal Pierce and Brian Grondin are both on. Leor Patchett, or Pachter. Is it Pachter?
Yeah, Leor Pachter.
Okay.
Yeah, he's from Caltech. Brian and Crystal are here. Brian Grondin, sorry, other Brian and Crystal are here. And Brian Grondin is, yeah, you're like, yeah, are you out on the East Coast now? Anyway, he's at Disney.
All right. And then we have Ryan Haas, Bruce Lonnie, so Bruce and Marianne, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
So have I got the names right?
Yeah, you're getting.
I'm getting it. And then hello to Yun, if you're still with us. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, so those are some of our folks today. And he says it could be either Couret or Couret. So he says either way. All right. And John Myers and Betty Jones just joined us, so hi to them too.
Yeah, it's neat to see people. I kind of had this thing. I don't know. You know, I am not like a chef or a culinary instructor or, you know, really anything other than, you know,
an enthusiast.
I enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
What's that?
An enthusiast.
Yes, exactly. I'm maybe a slightly above average dilettante in this, but it's, you know, so as much as it seems sometimes to me like, you know, all right, let's go figure this out and do whatever and figure out blah, you know, I mean, a third of the time we have something go wrong anyway. This is really about y'all, right? And like, you know, y'all, but then the idea of a y'all, like my whole life I've always wanted to, you know, get people together and cook and eat together, right? It's kind of just, you know, we do it nowadays and I've done it like back since high school or whatever. And again, thanks Mom, you know, for putting up with all that mess. And it's I don't know, the idea that there is still a y'all, and like as this goes on and changes and, you know, this pandemic, you know, all the different phases of this keep, you know, making us change how we do stuff. The idea that at some point there will still be like a y'all that we can actually get together, you know, and cook and eat with. And until then, you know, we can do this kind of craziness. It's just neat. So thanks to everybody who keeps coming and watching all this, you know, Yahoo craziness.
So Leah's back. She's joined us.
Oh, cool.
And Tony Torzillo, and Stuart Palermo. So
awesome.
Some other folks there.
Alrighty. So, yeah. So,
all right, so let's talk about the pork.
Yeah. So we dealt with our chicken, you know, pretty easily. You know, when it's like 10-inch giant knife against chicken, it's usually pretty easy win. So these guys, Costco used to have these boneless. Pretty standard, but like before that, I used to buy these at like Cash and Carry or something that were bone in, that, you know, and so again, it's like a little bit of convenience that you're not getting. And as more and more, weirdnesses happen with food chain stuff, you got to figure out that, we're going to be, kind of seeing more of these big pieces. So this is like just a standard boning knife. It's not like, some secret ninja craziness. It's a little bit flexible, but not, not super like fillet knife stuff. So the shoulder is complicated. Like, our shoulder and, pig shoulders and whatever.
If you've ever injured your shoulder.
If you've ever injured your shoulder, you know that they are complicated things. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So when you buy something like this, you could take it and make a giant whatever. But we're trying to like have less meat relative to our whole whatever, just so that it sort of lasts longer. So our goal was to like take this and kind of, part it out into like a couple, 3 things that could be little roasts. So there's like natural division. So you see, this is a bone end, so there's like one end of the bone here. And then the other end is this kind of blade. And it tricks you because there's like another piece that kind of like comes off of this. You'll see that in a second. But the first thing, and it's not like I have some great, whatever. I've done this a long time ago. I did another one earlier today just to remember like, what the hell I'm doing. But like you kind of just go and find these divisions, right? And like anytime you've got something where there's a big muscle, that's a decent roast, right? That you can shoot, that you can do stuff with it, or kind of combine with other things. So now you could, this is a pork shoulder, so you're going to cook it in like moist heat, or, even if you smoke it, which is dry heat, you then foil wrap it and then keep cooking it, and that now is moist heat. So, you could just cut the damn thing in thirds and go away. But some of this can be applied to other things too, which is why I thought it would be, kind of fun to dig into this a little bit.
So I'm going to back up for just a second because we've had a few people join us since you started talking about this. So this is a bone-in pork shoulder.
Yes.
That we just got at Costco, which is a little less processed than what they usually sell, which is sort of a good challenge for us, and also probably something that we're seeing across the country right now since, things are at a premium as far as getting processed fresh meat.
Yeah.
So,
That'd be good practice for like, fabricating squirrels or whatever, that we're going to have to do in some weeks or whatever. So So we have this, this kind of like flat bone thing, and you can kind of feel now there's like bone here. So anytime you're going along a bone, generally when you're trying to do this, you try not to cut this way, because if you cut this way, like you're eventually going to dig into bone, and you'll have these like little pieces of whatever and everything else. So the best thing to use is kind of this like almost scraping kind of motion, and you can do it largely with the tip of the knife usually. If you need more power, you can. Sorry, yeah. Here, let me flip it this way.
There we go.
Yeah. So, like a lot of times, this like kind of scraping thing, gives you just what you want. You can kind of, it's like almost 90 degrees, and that's when the flexibility of the knife is kind of good. And if you need a little more oomph, you can kind of like almost turn it as you go, and it'll, it'll kind of bite in. If you need a little more power, you can come in, with the back of the knife, just because you got, more power because your hand's closer.
And obviously, always doing it away from you when at all possible, and not on camera in front of your friends and family.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I just figure that, heightens the
drama.
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. So, what we will do quickly here, I think, is, I'm just going to go along here to make this easier. So, we're going to set this guy aside. He's going to be my other. Pork shoulders are interesting. If you get like a standing rib roast that you pay $1 zillion a pound for, then it's going to be a certain thing because they know you need it. The pork roast is like that Forrest Gump thing where it's like it's like a box of chocolates, only not that, but you kind of don't know exactly what you're going to get. So like the one that we did earlier, there were like 3 big kind of muscle groups and whatever, and it made sense to make a roast. Here, I think the way they've cut this one, it's not super precise because it's pork shoulder, right? So nobody wants that little, no one's going for the third intercostal something, whatever. So this may be, kind of different for, your mileage always may vary when you're dealing with like a big cut like this in an area that's kind of, nobody tends to care too much about. But generally, like I said, when you have this nice big flat bone, you can kind of like tell it goes here and goes to this. So the first time I ever did this, when I had not done it before, it's not like I had a manual, but I'm like, well, okay, you know, there's the bone here. I know I need to get to this, so let me just kind of go along here, you know, and kind of cut. And as I cut, you know, I can kind of hear it. So I'm just going a little, oh, all right, well, that becomes this. So now you want to free this, you know, so I kind of just came in here, cut that, and now we're going
to... No Julia Child's incidents, please, says William Henry.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that we should not have that. Yeah, so again, I'm kind of using the flat here, scraping along. And really, if I'd done this better, that wouldn't be all, you know. I mean, you kind of want to free this, but in a way that it's going to be somewhat easy to go back in and sort of, you know, truss it up or whatever later, you know, kind of depending on how you want to use it. So,
yes, smoke that, retain that bone for red beans and rice.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is exactly the plan.
Yeah, bean soup or, red beans and all kinds of tasty things happen from these bones. We're you know, we're big on bones here. We definitely kind of walk the walk. So right when I get to the edge, it kind of the way it is going to get a little bit, you know, it's kind of hard to do the scraping thing there. So I'll probably let myself do a little bit of a slice along thing just to kind of, you know, sort of free up that edge. You know, because we're going to use the, you know, the bone for stuff, it's not going to be a terrible, you know, like we're not going to lose the meat to the, you know, to the compost or whatever.
Fingers out of the way there.
Yes. So, yeah, so
I was going to say, when you have a little break, you should talk about kind of your family's history with butchery.
Yeah, sure, I will do that. I'm trying to, like, you know, keep some sort of eye on the ball here.
Yeah,
but
I think that's a good plan.
Yeah, it's like Heather said earlier. It's good to, you know, to like not be cutting towards yourself with force like ever. You know, if you're just kind of scraping or doing a little bit of whatever, that's, you know, whatever, we'll allow it. So you see this guy comes in here. So again, we can kind of like come along to the side just a little. But as you go in, you'll tell where, kind of up in here, that stops working where we've got this other piece here. So here, we'll go scrape this out.
Did you set a timer for the chicken?
No, I was just thinking about that actually. Yeah, we'll go take a we're gonna take a look quickly at the chicken.
Make sure we adequately capture the stalwart hand washing.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I think it's probably been about 15 minutes that, you know, since the chicken went in. We may end up going a scooch over today, but yeah, our goal with the chicken is to let it get nice and toasty on one side. We'll see if we let it go too long and it's nice and blackened. But actually that no, it's actually awesome.
Ooh, so look at how pretty that is.
Yeah.
Tandoori.
If I were doing this in a skillet, and I often have in the past, I would probably start on the other side so that I could get the nice crispy skin. This is decent. Oh, okay. Hey, look, we're gonna just go with it here. This stuff is pretty good at you know, because I'm using the broiler pan. It's gonna be okay and not, you know, screw with me too much on, you know, hosing my nice crispy chicken skin. So we're gonna just let it be there. But yeah, there we go. All right, so now it's gonna go back and continue to broil. Yeah,
so we have a start by turning off your smoke alarm.
Yeah, do you want to see?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is like at the, like I said, the very lowest setting, which is because it's that thick. You know, I mean, you don't want to, you generally don't want to broil, you know, chicken too close to the thing. Just like, you know, if you were cooking chicken on the grill, you wouldn't crank it way high, you know, with the things low.
So yeah, the smoke alarm has already been disabled. We've learned that lesson in past episodes. So it's hiding in the bedroom at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. If it's anyone's first time joining us, it's almost like we could host a scavenger hunt, you know, of like go find all the times that we set off the smoke alarm. Yeah.
So question before you go into the next thing, I
Sure.
think is a good one. What happens to this? So Pam wants to know, what happens to this kind of cut under normal processing? Seems like so much trouble. Does it get wasted? So where does this normally, how do they normally do this, and what do they do with the pieces?
So normally in order to sell this boneless, they have people with different setups. Like sometimes it's just like a big, almost like vibrating kind of knife thing, or sometimes it's, I don't know if this is something they could do like full on mechanical, probably not. But it's, they definitely, it's not this clean, I mean, like when they do this, a bunch of meat ends up going, kind of with the bone. It's not because of altruism, but just because, I mean, market forces, people aren't just going to throw meat away. So that stuff, like I think a lot of times when they process meat,
Goes into canning
the extra
goods and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Campbell's pork and beans.
Well, they go and they I think there was one process where they would basically just like put it in, in high heat for a long time, and I mean even the bone breaks down and it goes into animal feed and like dog food or whatever, for carnivore pets and other things. So, there's, you end up with not quite as much, kind of meat yourself. It's certainly cheaper to do this if you, or want to take the time or whatever, and kind of go.
Watch the thumb there.
Go.
So Dick Carroll says, Noon Carroll says you can use the bone with sour kimchi for kimchi gai, kimchi stew as well. So Dick, is that, are you talking about the chicken or are you talking about the pork bone? I've never had that dish, so now I'm curious, and also, yeah.
Yeah, I would trust anything she says because her kimchi is fantastic. I've had it before. Yeah, it's very good stuff. So,
all the toes are still attached.
exactly right. We're gonna,
Also, all the hands.
yeah.
So we're good there.
We're gonna quickly.
Mom also
That's
says soup stock is the other thing that it can be
Yes,
used
indeed,
for.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, we got a dude. You're getting heckled. Dude, because you
Oh.
dropped the knife.
Well, sort of, whatever. And
It was not quite a full-on Julia Child incident. It was, sort of. It was a.
I'm kind of blanking on this incident. Was it that she?
I think
dropped
she
a knife
cut.
or
She
something?
cut
Or
herself,
cut
didn't she?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that I'm not gonna say that we would not ever do anything like that. That's,
That's certainly a yeah.
Yeah. Actually, one of the best books on home butchery that I've ever seen. It's an old one. It's literally called "Cutting Up in the Kitchen," which doesn't really have anything to do with cutting your own hands up in the kitchen, but you're cutting, so sometimes things happen. But we try to prevent them from happening. Like that's kind of what I'm saying about I am trying. I generally try not to put too much force anytime I've ever, I'm like using the sharp part of the knife to do stuff, right? So yeah, so here's your bone. This, goes in for stock or things or whatever. And then this roast, remember in the beginning when I said, I shouldn't have cut it on the side, but this is kind of what's left. So, this, you could like truss this back up, or you could just sort of sit it like that. And then this is like one of your little roasts, for your stuff. This other guy that's left here, usually in a pork shoulder, there's like, so if you kind of like just get your hands in, a lot of times you can figure out kind of how the muscles work by just finding little seams and going along. So here, and you can kind of see this, right? Like it's, it sort of wants to divide here, so we're going to do that. So I'm using a really light touch here. Like I kind of want, again, it's pork shoulder, so it doesn't matter anyway. But if you were doing something else, you want to kind of like be careful with not, you kind of want to cut it where the little fat and silver skin divide is. You don't want to, kind of go through that, because then inside the meat someplace, as somebody's eating, is going to be this, kind of like tough, gristly thing, and they're, going to wonder what's going on. And I'll show you a little thing that's actually quite nice to do. If you ever buy pork tenderloin or beef tenderloin, it usually comes, you know, it can come kind of nicely dressed, but you'll see.
Whoa.
Sorry. You'll see it usually comes with like this.
Silver skin.
Yeah, it's called silver skin. And like a good example of it is, oh shoot, I don't know, it's around here somewhere. Yeah, there's kind of some in here. That's why I was trying to expose this and instead cut it. But yeah, it's the silver skin is collagen and I think elastin and some other things. Yeah, here's a good example of it. You can kind of see. So this stuff, if you encounter it, you can usually, like your pork tenderloins will be so much better if you, like when you find this section of it, I'm trying to find a piece that's like worth actually taking off that can, yeah. So like, you have to kind of get the fat away just so you can sort of see what you're doing.
So Betty, Joan, and John say, don't some butchers also slice the whole piece, which are sold as country-style pork ribs that are 1.5 inches thick and roast well with barbecue sauce?
Yes, they do. Yeah, you're right. You can cook this over dry heat. It's usually like kind of as I'm going and getting these roasts out. Like yeah, you can do that. We actually do that sometimes. It's still nice. I mean, yeah, it's a thing that you could definitely do with this. If you get they'll sometimes even sell them bone in, and then they'll just, you know, take like their big old meat saw and kind of whack it. But yeah. So if you sort of imagine like the silver skin going across, if you sort of just like get your knife like up under it a little bit, you can like kind of take a chunk out, and then you can sort of go one way, and then you can free it up, and then with just real, I'm not gonna, you're not seeing much because there's not kind of much of it here, but you kind of just go along and it takes a whole little strip of it off. And if you do that a couple, 3 times, you end up with, you know, having removed all that, and it makes a difference. In a pork tenderloin, it's like the difference between, you know, people chewing and chewing and chewing it, and it just being like, you know, the tender thing that it's supposed to be. And a lot of times, you know, they'll, like I said, they'll leave it on because it's, you know, it's not premium enough, I think, that they're going to make a big deal of removing it. But, you know, but it's definitely something that if you take it out, it'll be a better product. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, here's a strip of it, and you kind of like, just go along. Again, use that scrape, right? You're not, you know, and then, yeah, and kind of get it as far as it'll go. So, like, you see the difference. This usually, some of this stuff doesn't even break down that much over, you know, kind of cooking unless you really go for a long time. So again, it's not as important here because this is probably all going to go in, you know, in some kind of low and slow applications. But
all right.
So yeah, we're going to finish this up with. I think we'll kind of just go along here. Yeah, you know, we want to.
William Henry says, "Check your chicken."
I know. I gave the.
We can smell it.
A little bit of side eye recently, you know, but yeah. So again, this could be like trussed out or, you know, thrown out. This is like that country style stuff. See, there's like not a lot of weird stuff going on internally, and this. You see the amount of internal stuff. This is part of the complicated shoulder piece. So this like would do best as like a roast. You know, this is a good, you know, smoke or grill thing. So yeah, it's got about another 10. So it's probably not quite done, but we will definitely check it because
it smells delicious, but it does not smell like it's burning yet. So I think we're still in okay shape. I have a pretty good nose for that. I'm the backup alarm.
Yeah. Plus, the first part is which you got to kind of be careful because you don't want to burn that skin, you know, and the skin's easier to char. Once it flips to the other side, there's kind of, you know, it's a little less. The stuff that's going to char first are like ends of bone that you're, you know, that you're not going to eat. So
we always ask, what's everybody having for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
On this Mother's Day. Always interesting to hear what everybody's doing around the country or Canada. A nod to Yun. Yeah, we're having like pretty crazy hot weather, so we almost bailed on doing the broil in the oven thing because it's pretty warm in here today.
Yeah.
But I know some parts of the country it's been pretty cold.
Yeah, it's getting there. Here, I'll take it out real quick so people can see.
Sizzle, sizzle.
Yeah. This is definitely not done. You can even kind of like see, where it's kind of not finished yet. So this will go back in, but it is definitely...
And if you were going to temp it, where would you temp it?
I temp it in the part that I know is done because I'm hungry and I want to eat. No, I usually find the thick, like, you kind of do the thickest part. You don't want to be on a bone, but you want to be near a bone. So like in a thigh, usually that, whatever, you just find this kind of like area down here.
Whoops, there we go.
Yeah, 115, right? So like not done.
Not done.
And for the breast, if it's like whole, I kind of just find the center of the breast basically and do it. Here it's probably something near, like in and amongst all that bulk of muscle stuff. So what is this, 120 somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah. So so we're gonna put this back in, and at the end, like if I let it go a little shy in the beginning, so then I can kind of like do most of my stuff and get it close to done here, then I flip it and can kind of finish it at the end, just to crisp the skin like one final time. And that, it's just kind of nice because crispy chicken skin is outstanding. We've never done that thing where we just like straight up make crackling out of a chicken skin, do we?
We have not, but that'll be a future episode, I suspect.
I do it as a side thing sometimes when we have like chicken skin and we, skin some thighs or something. So yeah. So yeah, this is like, I would just get cling film. I did it with the other one this morning. You lay it out like this goes on, do a couple, 3 little layers of that, and then, it can go in a bag or something, a Ziploc bag. And then, these are except I think this guy and the other one like him are going to go out on the smoker tomorrow. So,
yep.
Yeah.
So are we going to, I don't know, how about questions? There was a couple things, I think, somebody was asking what we do with all the trimmings. I think we talked a bit about that. Let me see if there's anything else that... Oh, the Julia Childs thing, there was a skit on Saturday Night Live. That's where I've seen it from. I've never seen the actual episode, but I remember the skit now that he mentioned that.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So, I could totally see Julia Child actually cutting herself, though, because, she was real and and then just going with it because she was real. So
yeah.
I don't know. She definitely one of the most authentic, TV chef people that that have been around in a while. So
then we've got some folks are having for dinner. We've got rosemary chicken and jasmine rice.
Nice.
Leah says so she wouldn't have to cook for Mother's Day. Got takeout, mix of different things to cover all 3 meals for the 3 of us. She says Shannon came earlier and is back in LA now. Simone left, but she's back again.
Oh, that's cool that they both got out there. That's really neat.
Your mom and dad said they picked up a family bundle of mahi and shrimp from Bonefish. Tony Coffee, let's see, what does he say? Had to check in to see if you had all 10 digits. Yes, in fact, he does.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Tony was in culinary school with me. So I think he was there. I almost wanted to make some Chef Rudy jokes, last week when we did the bread, but I didn't think, that I didn't know that anybody would get them, and yeah, I don't know. He's probably still alive and kicking, so he'd just, hunt me down or some kind of thing and yell at me some more. So who knows? So
William Henry says he's doing pork belly on Wednesday.
Outstanding.
Yeah. And Betty Joan and John are having fish and salad and bread, sugar snap peas, broccoli on the side. Sounds pretty good.
It does.
We were going to do a quick little thing about some of the other spices that, we actually use spice blends quite a bit. This was something that I didn't really do much of before I met Chris, but he's got he uses them very well. We use them on vegetables, we use them on fish and meat, and we've accumulated a number of them that don't have salt in them so that you can add your own salt. Sometimes they do still have salt. Yeah. They're not all salt-free, but a lot of them...
Or are pretty light, too.
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, this guy, there's salt in him, but it's very little. Yeah, I always... Even with us using a lot less salt and with my taste having changed to, to where... things that were normally X seem salty to me, this is still needs some salt in it.
So that was what went on the chicken today for everybody that came on late.
Yeah. The Souk in Pike Place Market sells this. This is this is a jerk seasoning that I think I only used to be able to find it online, and Central Market now sells it. But yeah, Badia. It's a good. I don't know, it's just a really good blend. You know, it's not, I don't know, just real even, kind of balanced. And then these are these people that we went out. Chef Bob, they run this place EVOO out in Cannon Beach, Oregon, and we went and celebrated a friend of ours.
Graduation from nutrition school.
Getting her master's degree in nutrition. At this thing, her husband organized like a little thing out there, and I don't know, it was neat. So, and this, we were gonna do this, but you know, it's dark, and so we thought it would look, you know, wouldn't look as cool as that neat red. But we did this like coffee and cacao kind of spice blend with, I don't know, it's pretty interesting actually. So we're starting to use this a decent bit. And on the plus side, we have like some extra because we gave this out around Christmas time. So, you know, if that sounded interesting and not weird, then, you know, feel free. If it sounded weird,
we've got a few bottles left,
and
we'll send you some. Yes. And we're not selling it. We're just
at least this one will. I can put the recipe of this because we make it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Pork chops and cast iron risotto and a salad sometime soon. And pizza crust for Monday night. That's Tony. Yeah, eating good at your house.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, this sounds like this is not going to be finished before we're going to wrap up here, or where are we?
Well, I mean, we could like
tootle around and wrap up some pork.
What?
I don't know. How long do you think on the chicken?
It's probably getting about to where I would like flip it and do the 5-minute thing. So
okay.
That's what I was gonna. Let me just pull this here. And
Pam gave us a plug on the coffee spice blend. She said it's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pam.
Yeah, so we'll flip this over and
all right. Anybody know where the word spatchcock comes from for the chicken?
Yeah, the technique is called spatchcocking. Usually the thing stays, you know, attached unless you're, you know, get a little wacky with the flipping it. I should have used two. A little tip is to use 2 pairs of tongs because it's a little easier that way. But yeah, that was that thing about cutting the backbone and whatnot. So our chicken's a little deformed looking here, but you know, just pretend with us that it's, you know, kind of in its
taste delicious.
Turkeys too, you can do that with, and you know, some people's Thanksgiving tradition now includes that as a thing because it's, you know, your turkey cooks quicker and you can like do a little bit more grill and a little bit less roast on it if you want to do that. So yeah, it'll be 5 more minutes there. And I don't think we need to keep everybody around just to prove to them that, you know, we can fail to burn chicken. But all
right.
Yeah. Also, like, you know, it's only so much fun watching somebody put cling film on something. So I guess we can probably, go ahead and
wrap up.
Shut her down.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us again this week.
Yeah.
Not sure what we're doing next week, but if you have any suggestions, we're interested to hear what you'd like to see. We're having a lot of fun doing this every week, and I get a clean kitchen out of it, which is fantastic. So please keep joining us. All right.
Yeah. All right. Happy Mother's Day again.
Yeah.
To all the mothers.
All right. Take care.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.